Hey, Autoimmune Warriors, welcome to the Stronger Than Autoimmune podcast. I am so fired up for you to be here. If you're navigating life with an autoimmune condition, you're in the right place. I am your host, Des, and I am not just a podcaster. I am right here in the trenches with you as a fellow autoimmune warrior. We're diving into real, uplifting stories and some seriously smart expert tips and simple lifestyle tweaks that can make a difference in how we feel day to day. Now I've got to give a huge shout out to my amazing listeners. You're the heartbeat of this podcast, and I'm so grateful for you tuning in. If you're loving the vibes, here is how you can keep the love flowing. Drop a rating on Spotify, share a quick review on Apple, or pass this episode along to a warrior buddy who can use a boost of hope. Here are some patients that are killing it for our community. Workers with Autoimmune Ailments Alliance. These folks are fighting the good fight for students and workers like us with autoimmune conditions. Want to get involved or learn more? Swing by WAAA.org. They'll love to have you. Leap Cure. They're all about hooking up patients with cutting-edge clinical trials and putting our voices front and center. Check them out at leapcure.com. Adapt Naturals by Chris Kresser. They offer nutrient-packed supplements based on science. Snag 20% off your first order with my code DEZ, D-E-Z, at Adapt Naturals. From my heart to yours, I'm sending you nothing but love and good vibes. Let's dive in together. Welcome, Autoimmune Warriors. Eva James is a rising star in intimate, dark pop, blending haunting melodies with raw vulnerability. Her music, reminiscent of Stevie Nicks and Grace Potter, explores mental health, toxic relationships, and personal resilience, transforming pain into universal truth. In 2023, Eva won the Gloucester 400th Anniversary Singer-Songwriter Challenge and began recording her debut album with Grammy winner Paula Cole. You know that song, Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? That's Paula Cole, just in case you didn't know. Living with endometriosis, MCAS, and POTS, Eva faced her health challenges privately until the COVID-19 pandemic prompted her to share her story. Biologic injections and IVIG infusions have revitalized her health and creativity, making music her medicine. Eva's journey as an artist and patient embodies strength and authenticity. Welcome so much to the Stronger Than Autoimmune podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, so can you start by telling us a bit about your musical journey? What first sparked your love for music, and how did that passion grow as an artist and make you who you are today?
Yeah, so my relationship with music started when I was very young, actually. I grew up with music like in the house. Both my parents loved music. So there's always good music playing. And when I was a kid and teenager, music was really my lifeline completely. I had a turbulent childhood, and it was the one constant for me. I was never without an earbud in my ear. I was always listening to music, and I picked up piano when I was pretty young as well. And when I started writing my own music, it became an even deeper form of therapy for me in a sense when I was young. And now, this many years later, it's the deepest relationship in my life is my relationship with music. And there's been many phases of it. Yeah, but it started when I was very, very young.
Yeah, I can't even imagine being able to write music because it's on a different level than writing poetry. I mean, because you have to think of all these different elements.
Yeah, it's truly A dialogue with the subconscious. That's what Paula refers to it as, and it's the most accurate description I've ever heard of what I also experience. It's like a dialogue with the subconscious. Without it, I wouldn't know myself as well. I wouldn't understand the world around me as well. I wouldn't be able to connect to anything or anyone without that vessel.
That's beautiful to have that outlet because a lot of people haven't found that outlet or know how to uh, create it. Um, and I read that. I was reading some of your interviews on, I think, Lauren Lee or the guitar. And you were mentioning how your first baby or first musical instrument was piano. And then
Yeah.
you started loving the guitar. So that's your second baby or your next baby.
Yeah, yeah. Piano was definitely the first love for sure. I took a couple years of piano lessons when I was a kid, and I stopped piano lessons because I was playing by ear, and I was starting to so I wasn't reading the music as much, and I was starting to write my own things. And when the piano teacher I had at the time wasn't the biggest fan of that approach, so then I wasn't the biggest fan of that piano and I kind of went off on my own from there. And then I was probably about 18 or 19 when I taught myself some guitar. And then that kind of became a secondary outlet musically as well. Another way I could write and accompany my voice. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, because I could understand as I'm more of an artist, like painter, drawing, and I could see how different. I could understand as an artist as different mediums give different color, give different shape to what you're trying to create.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So your music has this incredible ability to pull listeners into a deeply emotional world. What song or moment from your early days of creating still feels special to you and reminds you why you started?
Oh, that's a good question. There's been a handful of those moments for me over the years, for sure. I mean, the earliest one, truthfully, the earliest one is I remember being like, I remember the moment that I knew I wanted to make music. And that was when I was very, very young. I was in the car. I was young enough to be in the back seat, 'cause I remember I wasn't in the front. And Bonnie Ray's uh, "I Can't Make You Love Me," that song came
Yeah.
on, and for some reason, with all I was probably about middle school age, so who knows what I was going through then. And something about that song and that moment, it touched me. It like affected me a ton, and it really eased any negative emotions I was having in that moment to such an extent where I was like, wow, I want to make something that does that for someone else. And I've always remembered that. My childhood memories are a bit fuzzy, but I remember that one pretty clearly. Yeah, that's when I knew I wanted to make music, like wanted to make my own music, like write music that could make other people feel how music makes me feel.
Yeah.
And there's definitely been a handful of moments over the years where it's been like, yeah, this is definitely what I'm meant to be doing. It's my purpose for being here. That was the first one though.
That's a beautiful memory. Sometimes it's amazing how art and music is art can hit you that way.
Mhm.
That's when you know it's a good song.
Yes. Yes. And if I write one that almost feel if I write something that almost feels too raw to perform or record, or like too exposed, that's how I know I have to.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
You said, I can't have music without my health, and I can't have my health without music. How did that connection crystallize for you, and what role does music play in your healing process today?
Yes, that's a big one. Because they really, especially the past couple years, the two have really intertwined for me. My health, it declined. I had a significant decline in 2023. I had the initial decline and some diagnoses was before that, but I had a pretty significant one in the fall of 2023, a couple months after we recorded the album, actually. And I was bedbound for 6 months. And that's when a lot became more clear. And in hindsight now, it's almost a couple of years later, and I look back on it and I'm like, wow, like, none of that was coincidence, because before that point, I hadn't been honest about my health professionally. I'd like hide it, I would push my body too far trying to prove I was healthy. And that was when it really became clear to me that I needed to like really, really own my reality, own my truth, and proceed forward on a path of more authenticity for myself, but also for my audience. And um, that's when the two really intertwined, because I knew I obviously couldn't pursue a career in music unless I was well enough to do so. Um, but I also couldn't get well if I was hiding my reality and like cultivating that like shame within myself. And also I didn't want to um, be someone with a chronic condition that was hiding it, because then I'm saying that it's shameful to anyone else that has one, and it's not. So I was like, okay, I need to be honest and see where that leads me, and just kind of live my life with that intention. And it's led me to here, and I don't think I would still be alive today without music, because the two really did become one.
Yeah, I'm so glad more people are coming out and not hiding who their struggles, especially as artists, because we kind of think, oh, they're everything's perfect in their life, but it's good
Yeah.
to have those windows open to the other world. So thank you
Yeah.
for your courage.
Thank you. Yeah.
You've described music as your lifeline during some of the darkest chapters of your health journey. When did you realize that songwriting could be more than a hobby, or rather something that actually helped you survive?
So that's really around that same time too. I mean, there's been many, many waves of that realization. But when they really kind of my health and my music really intertwined, and started just really focusing on both of them equally, um, and being honest, it really every medical victory felt even more like a victory, because every medical victory I had, I could do more with music. And then every like professional victory or accomplishment was even more triumphant, because I wasn't just accomplishing something, I was accomplishing something through this struggle I was facing. Um, and so, yeah, that's really when they intertwined, it became more of a lifeline, because it was like my I guess literally the word lifeline, my life became tied to the music.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like it took you a while to find the right diagnoses for you. Because
Yes, yeah. These conditions can be very, very complex and hard to diagnose. They're often misdiagnosed. I had multiple misdiagnoses. And yeah, so endometriosis probably was one of the longest searches for a diagnosis for me. It took six doctors and many, many years to get that one. And I actually did get that diagnosis before the others. I got that diagnosis closer to 2019-ish. But the MCAS and the POTS definitely took longer as well. And the level of my symptoms had to get to an extreme for it to be very obvious and clear, what they were looking at. And really at the center of it, though, is my medical team. Like my doctors that I have are they're incredible. And they're so passionate about what they do. And not once did they tell me that I wouldn't be on a stage again or I wouldn't be able to do music. They were always, we're going to get you doing music. We're not just going to get you well. We're going to get you well enough for music. And so they're a big part of the reason that I'm even here right now too.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm so glad that you found a team that you could rely on. And I've read, again, some of your interviews, and I know you have a good support team with your friends and probably your fans, and that always helps. And having an outlet that helps you heal helps you push forward. You said COVID-19 was the point where everything came to a head. What happened after that finally pushed you to speak publicly about your autoimmune battles?
Yeah, so that was kind of the first turning point, I guess. It was in 2023 is when I really started being honest professionally publicly about my health. It was in towards the end of 2022, I got COVID for the first time, which I had done a very good job of avoiding until then. But, and that I had at that point too, I wasn't on the treatments I'm on now. So I was still at a point where like if I got sick with something, I got very, very sick. And so like the initial infection like knocked me down a decent amount. But the aftermath is what actually led to my like, MCAS diagnosis and some other things as well, because it was after that everything worsened. They had like that first wave of worsening to a degree where I could then get diagnosed. So that was definitely one of the turning points where I started having to focus on my health a lot more than I had previously, in order to care for it. Um, yeah.
I I have to admit, I the same thing happened to me. I got COVID and the MCAS. I didn't know I had that. Just shot through the roof and never got
Mhm.
better. So it took a while to get that same diagnosis. It's like, oh,
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's that one's often misdiagnosed. It's a tough one.
yeah. Thank you for sharing. Since starting the biologic injections monthly and IVIG infusions, how has your day-to-day life and your capacity to perform changed?
Gosh, everything's changed. Uh, the my treatments really are like life changing. So I'm able to do my injections myself now, which is great. I'm on a biologic called Xolair, which treats the MCAS. So it specifically targets the mast cells. And I'm able to do them at home now, which is great because I do them every 14 days. Um, and so I've been on that since fall of 2023 was when I had that big decline, is when I started the injection. And then my infusions as well. They're the IVIG infusions. Those have been huge. But there's a lot of other things that I have to do as well to maintain where I've managed to get to. Which and I mean where I'm at now is in some ways healthier than I even was before I got sicker, because there was so much that wasn't being tended to then. And as I've been treating these conditions now, there's been so many times that I've been like, oh wow, I just accidentally treated a symptom that I've had for years that I didn't realize was a symptom. So there's been so many realizations of that, of like, wow, like for so many years of my life, I was just a very high functioning mentally ill person. And now the place I'm at now, I'm able to kind of see a lot of that a lot clearer. Um, I had to do a full reset really of everything that goes in and on my body. The like all the food, I make all my food from scratch. It's all low histamine. I had to do a lot of learning about what my body needed really. And like all the personal care products I use, they're all um safe ingredient wise for me. So there's a lot of little things along with my bigger treatments that are all pieces of this puzzle that keeps me going and keeps me doing what I love.
Yeah, they all kind of like stack up and
Yeah, yeah, and for gigs too, for performing, it's I like have a slightly modified protocol for myself for gig days that works well. So it's been a lot of experimenting, a lot of trial and error, and it all comes down to just kind of listening to my body because it's always telling me what it needs if I'm not too stubborn to listen.
yeah, it's funny how that works out. You end up being healthier and you kind of know how to, I shouldn't say this, but like cut corners, like, okay, I didn't sleep that well, but maybe if I do XYZ, it could help me feel a little bit better, or maybe I need to take a
Yes.
nap before my gig, or so.
Exactly. It's that like that bucket. Some people hear them talk about the like histamine bucket, but I think it's not just like a histamine bucket. It's because it can be true for really any condition, any chronic condition like this, anything that has that can like limit your energy and or any condition where you benefit from pacing yourself. That like visual of a bucket and not overflowing it can be very helpful too, of being like, okay, like this puts some stuff in the bucket, but I should be able to do this. Like it's a balancing act.
yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
And let's move on to some of your music. So, your upcoming single, The One You Lose, channels the ache of unreciprocated love, but it also echoes the emotional complexity of living with chronic illness. Can you tell me a little bit more about how living with chronic illness has shaped your personal relationships and what struggles you face?
Yes, that's been a big one too. I mean, anyone that lives with a chronic illness learns pretty quick that you really learn who's in your life for the right reasons, you know, who's like really in it with you and who's not. And I think one of the I guess it's a blessing and a curse in some ways is of living with chronic illness is it just kind of naturally eliminates things and people from your life that maybe weren't meant to be there in the first place or just aren't serving your greater purpose in some way. And it does it a lot more obviously than it happens in life when you don't have these conditions. And so I mean, my personal relationships have absolutely been affected. Like personal relationships with friends in that category. I have the most incredible friends. And I would not be here without them, quite literally. And so with them, it really just kind of heightened how special those people are and how valuable they are in my life. And then my relationship with family members also has shifted in some ways too, and in interesting ways. I'm much closer with my dad now than I was previously, and my stepmother as well. I think my health journey kind of really brought me closer to them, which is really nice. And then on the other side, when I got a lot sicker, and the MCAS was really severe at one point, I did have to take a step back from my relationship with my mom, which I've continued to do for a couple years now, and that ended up being a really important decision for my health. But I may not have gotten to the point of making that decision for myself if my body hadn't gotten to a point where it didn't give me a choice. Um, so it really, it's a blessing and a curse in some ways. And of course, the romantic relationships are deeply affected by it as well. And I mean, the most recent single, The One You Lose, it does touch on that a little bit too, because, that I wrote that song, during a phase where, my health was worsening, but I didn't quite know it yet. didn't fully know what I was dealing with, and was quite overwhelmed. And I was in a relationship at the time that was very, very hot and cold, and with someone that really struggled with the situation of my health, and what that meant for my life and therefore their life if they were in mine and all that. And so while the song itself doesn't zone in on that component, it does on the bigger picture of how that relationship was really like push and pull, and the ways it affected me and my self-esteem and all of that as well. Yeah.
I could hear that. I could hear that. I know I could hear the double entendre. And I don't know. I kind of like this something new. It's your other
So
single.
yeah, that was the first single, yes.
I like that one too. Could you
Yeah,
talk about that one a
thank
little bit?
you. Yeah, yeah. So actually, this is actually a good time to talk about it because I was just that one, gosh, yeah, I love that song. I wrote that one in quite a few years before The One You Lose, actually. Something new I wrote in 2019, and it was really kind of my first time really examining not just my own personal relationships, but the relationships of people in my family. Like I was really exploring generational patterns, and my parents' relationship and the ways in which that fell apart, and really just a history of unhealthy relationships, and kind of seeing all the ways that I could either keep perpetuating the same cycle and continuing it, or be the person to break the cycle in my family. And so that song, it really is it's about a lot of different things all at once. And so I really hope that one too, that people can kind of like take what they need from it and like hear what they need in it. Yeah,
Yeah, I added it to. I have a stronger than autoimmune playlist. I mean,
awesome.
so I add all these songs that make me feel like, you know, I got this. Because you need something like that.
Oh yes, yes.
um, so how did collaborating with Paula Cole help or work with or challenge your vulnerability in the studio?
Yes. So, gosh, it's been such an awesome partnership, truly, because it's not only like working with her hasn't just like elevated my music and my music ability. Um, Really, it's really pushed me to be the truest version of myself as an artist and as a woman. Um, and yeah, and a lot of that is due to my relationship with Paula. She's so strong and so talented and so like very much she really pushes me to be honest, to be me, and that then definitely shows in my music. Yeah, this album, just all the ways that like her talent and her just everything has shaped it. It's just this really, really beautiful result of that teamwork. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind talking about the album name?
Ah,
Hi.
yes. So the album, yes, the album will be Earth to Eva. Yeah, so that actually, I've actually been holding on to that name for the album for a long time. When Paula asked if I had like anything in mind, I was like, "Yep, I have had it for years." For some reason, it actually, yeah, it was many, many years ago actually, because I actually I found something in my notes section like at some point that mentioned it from way further back than I actually even thought I had thought of the album name. So I've been holding on to that for a while. Something about it, it just came to me one day when I was younger, and it stuck that should be the name of my first album. I don't know, something about it that felt right as like the way to introduce myself, I guess.
Love that Earth to Eva. It sounds like you're becoming who you were always supposed to become. That's
Exactly. Yes, I mean, that's precisely it.
awesome. I was wondering, critics hear echoes of Stevie Nicks and Bonnie Raitt inner voice. Artists both known for vulnerability, and you just mentioned, you had that moment listening to Bonnie Raitt's song.
Yeah.
How do you strike that balance of how your body feels when you don't feel strong in the moment?
Yeah. There's obviously, I mean, anyone living with chronic illness knows that there's some really tough days. And in those days, it can be hard to see beyond them sometimes. One thing that has become important for me to learn about myself, I guess, in a way, is that my vulnerability can be my strength, um, rather than them being separate entities. So there was something about being starting to be honest about my health and really vulnerable. That was a very vulnerable choice for me to make at the time, and it still is sometimes when I mention something new about my health, or I share a new song that was written about my health. That vulnerability, that feeling of being vulnerable and exposed, it's definitely still there. Um, and the the more vulnerable and honest I've been, though, the stronger I feel. Um, so the two really kind of are intertwined now. I've found that when I'm not feeling strong, um, there's something about being very, very honest, even if it's just with myself, about it, that ultimately leads me back to a place of strength.
It almost frees you.
Mhm.
It almost frees you, like, because
Yeah,
you're being honest with yourself.
exactly. Rather than holding on to something, you can kind of release it.
Yeah. Have you received any comments from autoimmune warriors about how your music has helped them? Anything that sticks with you?
Yeah, and I'm hoping the more I share songs about my health and stuff, that there'll be more of this as well. But there definitely, I did actually share. I shared a new song recently on TikTok that was written about my health. There's a song that I started in that fall of 2023, when I was very, very sick, and then I worked on it in sections over the past couple of years, and I believe it's almost finished. It might still have more to do to it, but um, it was finished enough for me to post a bit of it, and I actually ended up performing it once. And I got some comments on that video that were really special to receive. People saying that it made them feel very seen, that they also struggle with chronic illness, and that the song really kind of mirrored how they're feeling. um, and at my last show as well, a woman came up to me after, and I had played a song of mine called Invincible, which is going to be on the album as well. Um, and that's a very important song for me too. It's very, very much touching on my physical health, also mental health too. So she came up to me after the show and said that her daughter lives with chronic illness, and that song really affected her when she heard it that night at the show, and that felt really good to hear too, because I mean, we were just talking about it, how the people in our lives are affected by what we experience with chronic illness as well. They go through it with us in a sense, in some ways. And so yeah, it was really nice to hear that someone's experience, and also the experience of someone they love, felt very validated by that song.
Can't imagine how that makes you feel so connected to yourself, to others, and like you said, you're going on the right path because you're getting that feedback.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And that's why I was actually thinking about it this morning, just like how glad I am that I made the decision to start being honest about my health, because there's just so much connection to other people and connection to myself that I wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah. You're helping us express ourselves through music for the people that can't carry a rhythm.
That's the goal. That's the goal. I saw a video actually recently of Joni Mitchell saying something similar that like it really resonated with me about how um she hoped like people see themselves in her music, so that they really get something out of it. And that really resonated with me because that's how I feel about it as well. It's like not that I want to write something and be like, hey, like this, look at me, look at all this that I'm writing about me. It's like, here's my experience, like how does it connect to yours? Like how, and yeah, I think that's the beauty of music, really.
Yeah, I agree. Any practical tips, medical, creative, business, that you would offer musicians or people diagnosed with an autoimmune condition?
Gosh, I could go on about that for way too long. So if I, there's so many things, but I just really at the center of it all, really though, is like listening to your body. Everything, when you do that, everything else starts to fall into place. Like listening to your body, owning your truth and your experience. Ultimately, that's what will guide you to where you need to be.
What's the one feeling or message you hope your audience takes away from your songs? And how do you want your art to continue shaping your journey, both as an artist and an autoimmune warrior?
I think if really one thing that's always been true for me since that day in the car as a kid when I realized that I should be making music, is at the end of the day, if for me personally, if one person hears my music and feels less alone and more understood, sees themselves in it, and feels maybe like they can, like they're capable when maybe they weren't feeling very strong, I will have accomplished absolutely everything I set out to accomplish. That really is, at the end of the day, why I'm doing this. Yeah, if, uh, if that happens, then anything beyond that is just a bonus for me.
I think it's happening. Thank you so much, Eva, for sharing your incredible journey and the magic of your music with us. Your story of turning pain into art is truly inspiring, and we're already loving the 2 singles, From Earth to Eva, especially my personal favorite, Something New. We can't wait for the full album later on in 2025. And to our listeners, check out Eva's music and her health journey at the link in our show notes, and keep following Stronger Than Autoimmune for more stories of resilience. Eva, you've been a beacon of strength and creativity, so thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Guess who I just connected with, warriors? Leap Cure. Leap what? Leap Cure. Leap Cure connects patients with clinical trials to make research more equitable and efficient. Listen to their latest clinical trial.
If you've been diagnosed with thyroid eye disease and are seeking potential new treatment options, you might be interested in the LIDS clinical trial. If you're 18 and over, have a diagnosis of Graves' disease or Hashimoto's, and are interested in potentially participating in research, you can fill out a short questionnaire at lpcur.com/TED. You'll be connected with someone on the team to determine whether it might be a good fit for you. Check your eligibility and learn more at lpcur.com/TED.